estamos ya llegando al final de esta mañana, de esta programación de mañana.
It has been great to see the vision that Frederick has. I think he's a very wise man, and obviously we here in the Canary Islands have an ongoing eruption, but there are many others in the world, and we're here to talk about this, and above all to know how to manage all of it in the near future from all perspectives. So let's finish this morning with a very famous region of the world. We're going to end up in Hawaii. And we're going to finish this morning session with that gastronomic part that teaches the volcanic region, what is unique of those regions, what is that interesting, and how does it link? Is it linked with the in some occasions, very, very antique traditions? We've seen the case of the Philippines, and now we're going to see the case of Hawaii, because the man that is going to take the floor now, the Hawaii hot pole factory, he's not only involved in the kitchen and the gastronomy and volcanic gastronomy, he has always also made an effort to recover the traditions, the usages that we really need today in order to keep on offering the territory and a backbone to all these examinations. And as far as I know, in Spain and in Europe, the chef of the Hawaii poi, Liko Hoi with O of you. Aloha.
All right.
Aloha.
Yeah, maybe we can.
Nos trasladamos, por favor, a Hawaii.
So we're going to move to Hawaii, to Honolulu, with this Liko Hoi, the chef.
Perfect. Yeah. Good pronunciation. Gracias. Ei no ke aku ala iu, hea te ai mai lai puani ani, kau ahi na kailu, na tamahu kailalo talu. O tale, o hea mai ho mai ua leo, o tai te wai wai, aloha 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 kako. Buenos dias. Aloha. My name is Liko Ho, and this is my assistant Tony, and we just wanted to send our mahalo, our gracias to the organizers of this conference, and also to the people of this beautiful place, Lanzarote. And we're very happy to be able to share some of our food and some of our experience with the volcanoes. And of course, we come from a place of volcanoes also. I have just mostly pictures, but I have these words that come from our indigenous language, Hawaiian language, and this is basically the theme of our group at the Waiahole Poi factory, and it says Hanai I ka ai, Hanai I ke aloha. And Hanai in Hawaiian means to feed people or to nourish. And so we have that 2 times, Hanai I ka ai, which means to feed with food. But the second line means Hanai I ke aloha, which means to feed with the feeling of aloha, which is love. And that's what we try to do, is to nourish people both physically, but also with the feeling. And I have already felt the aloha, the love from the people here. So thank you very much, and we feel very honored and very welcome to be a part of this. One of our most important foods is the kalo, and so that's why I was really happy to see Chef Shele doing a dish that incorporated kalo, because for Hawaiian people, the taro, or what we call kalo, is probably the most important food that we have. And this image in the back is that same leaf, the kalo leaf in there. Tony, can switch him over. And so we also use the leaf in a very similar way to what we saw from the Philippines, from Chef. But another way that we use the whole plant, and probably the more important way, is actually the root. And so I actually was able to bring some of the kalo roots here, and I'm going to show you the basic process of how we make it into what we call poi. And so this is the poi. We have our pohaku right there. Next one, Tony. Yeah. This is the place that I come from, and this is on the island of Oahu in Hawaii, on the windward side of the island, so away from most of the bigger population. And the land that I come from, what we call Aina, is called Hakipu'u, and this is where this picture is taken. And so I'll kind of go right into the pounding, which we call ku'i'ai. And usually I have a nice big papa, a nice big board that's probably about 2 meters long and about 1 meter wide, and it's actually made for 2 people. So you have one person pounding on one side, one person pounding on the other side, and really the kalo is the main food of Hawaiian culture. And so when you pound kalo, you're usually pounding for your whole family. So you pound a lot. So this is a little bit different, for me it's just pounding a little bit, but hopefully it'll kind of give you guys the sense of what kalo is. And so the first step in pounding is just to kind of start to, that one will have to be sacrificed. That'll be on the side. So one of the challenges actually of pounding on a flat surface like this is that the things want to go off to the side. So usually my normal board that I pound on has like a curved surface, so everything stays in. But I'll just have to be a little bit more careful what I'm doing. And now I'll try to kind of explain what I'm doing and talk to you guys, but at the same time, I'm speaking with the kalo, and the kalo is telling me different things about what state it's in and what it needs. And so at this point, I'm getting the kalo to break down into pieces, but after I break it into pieces, I'm actually going to want to get it to stick together again. Yeah. Oh, this thing is coming off a little bit. How's it, Tony? Are you able to get the slide up again, or just going live? Yeah. So I'll just kind of talk then, and yeah. So one of the things that I wanted to share about taro is that our tradition of food comes from, of course, the ocean. And if you look at Hawaii on a map, we're basically right in the middle of the biggest part of ocean in the world, actually, because the Pacific is, the biggest ocean, and we're right in the middle of the biggest part. And part of what that means is that our kupuna, our ancestors, voyaged to get there. And, our ancestors left the continent of Asia about 6,000 years ago and started on journeys, multiple journeys that eventually led them to all of the islands in the Pacific, even Hawaii. And along the way, one of the most important things, of course, which is important to everybody, is sustenance, is eating. And so, especially in the voyages, we had to choose the foods that would be able to sustain us, and not just in one environment, but actually many different types of environments. And so one of the best foods for that is the kalo. And so the kalo was taken throughout all of the islands in the Pacific. And to me, it's one of the examples of how the food that we have as people is connected to. Is connected to, of course, the places that we live in, but it's also connected to the history, of an experience of our people. So one of the main things about the experiences of Hawaiian people is that that voyaging through the ocean, and kalo is one of the main foods that allowed us to make that voyage. So if you look at the kalo itself right now, it's at a stage where I broke it all apart, but now it's come together. So now I kind of move to my next stage in the pounding process, where I can actually really pound it. And so it's going to get a little bit more explosive, I guess, in the volcanic terms. And I needed to be at this stage because otherwise, if I pounded it a little bit earlier, it would all run away. But now you kind of notice that it's basically staying in the same spot. It's not running away. And the goal of the pounding process is to try to get out as much of what we call pu'upu'u, which is the little lumps, and we're trying to get it as smooth as possible. And one of our chefs here does Japanese food, and this process that we're doing is actually very similar to what they do in Japan for mochi rice. Very similar, but I usually like to tell people that come from Japan that, the process is the same thing. They'll be adding the water like this. And basically the reason for the water is the same as in mochi. If you didn't add this water, it would be stuck. It would be really sticky. It would be all over my hands and the board and everything. But in mochi pounding, it's kind of the opposite. Which reminds me, that's another thing I want to share. The stone is same type of stone as this, basalt, volcanic type stone. But in Japanese mochi pounding, it's kind of like flipped. So usually for Japanese mochi, the bowl that they're pounding in will be made out of stone like this. And then the hammer is made out of wood. So usually, my board would be wood, and my stone, of course, is stone. But in the Japanese style, it's flipped. It's the opposite way. And then the other big difference with Japanese mochi is that usually you gotta have at least 2 people. So you got one guy that's doing the pounding, and then oftentimes it'll be a husband and wife, and the wife will be the one that's doing the flipping. So one person is doing the flipping, and then the husband is doing the pounding of the kalo. But for Hawaiian poi, we can actually do it with one person. Sorry, I'm making the stage a little wet here. All right. Another aspect of poi, and one of the reasons why it was so important to our people that I wanted to share with you guys today is the poi is kind of conservative in the sense that when you make poi, you make a lot of poi, and you're able to keep it for a long time. So the amount of poi that you'd usually make would last for at least a week or 2 weeks. And what happens is, after it's pounded like this, you're able to let it sour. So it kind of gets like a sourdough, or even like a yogurt, something like that. And that allows you to stretch, that food out over time. Whereas if you just cooked taro and left it unpounded, you would only have maybe like 1 or 2 days to eat it. So like this, you can let it sour, and it can last again for up to 2 or 3 weeks, and still be edible. Yeah. Tony, how are we doing on time? 1:34. Okay, perfect. Yeah. So we're kind of getting pretty close to what the end product would be. This is kind of gives you a sense, at least, of what the poi and the kalo is. So I'm going to kind of clean this up a little bit. Just get it off of the board a little more. This is not the there's still a little bit of what we call a poo-poo, which is those little lumps in there. So this is not fully acceptable, I guess, for me. But it gives you the sense at least. You get the ideal. And if the the conditions were a little bit different, but it's close. It's close. And one thing about poi too is that it can be eaten in different stages of consistency. So this poi is very mochi-like. Very little water in it right now. I've just been adding water to keep it from sticking to the stone and the board. But if I were to take it to full poi, I would add at least double the amount of water, and then you'd start to see it. See, right now it doesn't flow down too easily. When you take it to poi, it actually has like it'll flow right down like that. But this is close to what we want. Yeah. Then maybe can we get the rest of the slideshow up a little bit? And I'll leave the poi. I'm gonna call that done, even though in my mind it's not done. But I'm gonna call that done for now. Be satisfied with that for now. All right. And let me take a little bit of this water off you guys. Beautiful stage too. All right. Put that right there. Actually, I'll take this one up. Okay, next one, Tony. Yeah, so this is the same place, and it's a little bit of a close-up to see the style of planting that we do. And last night we were able to meet Paulo from the Azores Islands, and he showed us a picture very similar to this. So that really taro has gotten all around the world, and we've taken it into the Pacific, but it's in the Atlantic also, and it's one of our most important foods. In the Hawaiian story, in the Hawaiian genealogy, in Hawaiian history, the taro was actually the elder sibling to the human being. And so we look to the taro, in a sense, not just as food, but actually as family, very close family. So that important to us. Next one, Tony. All right. So you can guess who that is. And I got some nice kalo. This kalo was grown in Waiahole Valley, and got the whole leaf and everything in there. Next one. Yeah. So the other thing that I wanted to share, and originally when I got the invitation and was in contact with Worldcanic organizers, what I really wanted to do was what we call an imu. And this is one of the traditional ways of cooking, especially for taro, because if you know kalo, one of the aspects of kalo is that it has these proteins in it that have to be really well cooked. If it's undercooked, it has an itchiness that is actually beyond itchiness. It's like a pain that it causes. So this is one of the main styles that we use called the imu. And to me, this picture captures it. It's almost as if you're creating a volcano. So when I heard the Worldcanic conference, I thought, we need to do an imu. But logistics were a little difficult, so at least you get pictures of what it is. The basic concept is you dig a hole about this big, and it can be different sizes for different things. And you pile wood, and then on top of that wood, you pile rocks. You light it from the bottom, and those rocks, after a couple hours, will heat the wood will heat the rocks. Next one, Tony. Yeah, so this kind of shows that. Again, one more. Yeah, so this is kind of after about an hour or two. The wood has burned down. The rocks are burning hot. So if you flipped one of those rocks over, it would look almost like molten, lava in a sense. Next one. Yeah, so that, you can kind of get a sense of the heat. And what's happening is the rocks are actually absorbing all of that heat. And then next one. And what we do is, my brother, we put a layer of banana stump that has been mashed up. And what that does is creates the moisture that's going to keep it from burning the food. But the heat from the rocks will keep on heating that moisture. We put a layer of banana leaves. This is about, so that other one I put in the nighttime, later at night. This would be the next morning. So we usually cook for about 7 or 8 hours at least. And then this is the opening of the imu. Next one, Tony. Yeah. And then this imu was actually about almost exactly a week ago. And in America, we celebrate Thanksgiving, right? But in Hawaii, a lot of people in Hawaii have kind of merged. And so we do a lot of our turkeys for Thanksgiving, that's the American thing, in the imu. And it comes out really nice. The imu actually so this would just season with salt, but really the flavor is coming from the rocks, the wood, the smoke, and the earth itself actually. And it's a very distinctive flavor that is what we call ono, delicious. It's really ono. I think that's about all I have to share. And I thank you very much, gracias, for your attention. And I look forward for the rest of the conference. Gracias.
Bueno, la verdad.
Well, you have shared with us a lot. Almost, I would even say that you have just transported it to your hometown, to the Pacific, to Hawaii, recovering those ancestors and those other volcanic flavors from your country, which are not well known over here, but during Worldcanic and the upcoming years, we will get back to enjoy all those flavors. Thank you so much, Likahoy. And just let me know that we just finished the morning session for today, Worldcanic 2021. But you are invited to continue this afternoon in another place, which is very emblematic in Lanzarote, namely Mirador del Río. And the presentations will start at 10 to 5. We are going to start with a round table, and with a very interesting round table where we will just talk about volcanoes, like communication. We're going to talk about the management of those visits to volcanic regions. So thank you so much for being here today. And please don't forget that we will continue this afternoon. Thank you so much.